Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on from what location you're looking at us. Welcome on PGE full year 2010 result presentations. Our hosts for today are Mr. Tomasz Zadroga, President and CEO, and Mr. Wojciech Ostrowski, a newly appointed Chief Financial Officer of the company. Before we start, a very brief technical introduction. We are now sitting in front of a group of domestic investors and analysts, but more people are watching us via internet transmission. If you want to ask a question in a Q&A session after the presentation, sitting on site is pretty easy, but if you want to do this via internet, please send an email to the address presented in invitation or via formular on a web page. Then your question will be read out and answered. And Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon in Poland. Let me introduce our new colleague in the management board, Mr. Wojciech Ostrowski, who joined the company a few days ago. So please excuse him not to answer all of your questions. Please forward them directly to me. Wojciech has huge experience in finance. He has worked several years for Orlen Group. Last position was CFO and Vice President, Senior Executive Vice President in Unipetrol, in Czech subsidiary of PKN Orlen. I'm pretty sure that he will bring to the company his experience and knowledge and help us to first of all to finance all our investment ideas, plans and assets, and of course will support us with his experience to build shared service centers within the whole group in next few months. Let me introduce one executive vice president more who can't attend today's meeting, Mr. Paweł Skowroński, who is responsible for generation, both conventional and renewables, and distribution within the group. That's the brief explanation of the last changes in the management board. Currently we are the full management board. We are 5 within the final structure of the management board. The split is clear. Mr. Szostek will be responsible for trading activity, I mean wholesale and retail business in electricity, in heat and all other products being distributed and sold by the group. Mr. Szymanek is responsible for all corporate affairs, I mean HR, legal, procurement, so his position is stable and the same as previously within the last management board. That's the brief description of the last changes within the group. Figures, which is important to you, I would say when we exclude LTC compensations, it was boring year. In case of figures, they are stable, a bit above the previous year. Of course, when we exclude compensation, which we treat as one-offs, revenues increased by 0.3%, EBITDA by 0.8%, so both between 0 and 1%, but anyhow, still growth. Net profit reached 3 billion zloty. Of course, net profit attributable to the shareholders of the mother company, and the split of net profit being in the position of shareholders of the mother company is much better than before. For 2010 it was 83%, and it will be higher and very close to 100% in next years. Hopefully we will finalize our organizational of building a new organizational structure this year. So we strongly believe that next year it will be close to 100%. Consolidation. Okay, let's stay within the financials. Page 5. I mentioned the split of net profit. EBITDA. You see the increasing role of other segments than conventional generation. That's clear to everyone. Lower impact of LTC compensations in EBITDA, and of course increasing position of distribution segment in our group. Dividend. That's important and hot issue in last days. Finally, we as a management board, the management board decided we took a decision as a management board, of course, and it will help and of course this decision finally will be taken by the shareholders meeting, ordinary shareholders meeting. But anyhow, we internally decided to distribute only 40% as a dividend, and to leave the remaining 60% of the net consolidated profit within the group to invest or to directly to push this money into our investment scheme. Our investment scheme is impressive in generation, distribution, and nuclear projects, and of course in renewables. I will say few words later on regarding renewables assets, regarding potential IPO and the new investment plans. But anyhow, 40% net consolidated profit to be proposed as dividend payout to the shareholders of the mother company. It gives 65 groszy per share. Composition of EBITDA remaining stable. The main influence by conventional generation and distribution assets. It is not clear picture, I would say, because a lot of changes within the value chain in the whole group, and I foresee that the year 2012 will be the first year in which we could compare the results to 2011. You know that we changed totally our business model in case of trading, and we forward roughly 90% of electricity generated in the group through the power exchange. So again, figures for 2011 will be different and not comparable to figures for 2010. So 2012 and 2011 will be the same structure of the value chain within the whole group. Impact of the long-term, that's what I mentioned, LTC compensations. We have a lot of questions regarding further development of LTCs. I can say that 2011 we foresee a bit higher figures than 2011, but 2010. It will be the last year with reasonable figures. From 2012 onwards, it will be almost nothing. Current debt position clear after transaction, minorities transaction in December. We are still cash positive in general, and as you know, every quarter we improve our cash position because of Energa. We still haven't paid for this transaction and still are waiting for the final court decision. So still cash positive. Consolidation program well known. I think we do not need to discuss it deeply because it was discussed several times. Timetable was clear. End of December, end of last year, we merged with PGE Electra, responsible for wholesale trading. So currently, mother company is responsible for wholesale operations as well as the managing of the whole PGE group. Capital expenditures, as promised, increased 5.3 billion, and in general, you remember the curve we presented a lot of times. This curve will grow. I can't tell you the exact curve, but anyhow, in the long term, in next 15 years, we will increase our expenditures due to our new projects. First projects are clear: Opole, Turów, ZEDO, CHPs, renewables, and of course after that nuclear project will come to be spent and to of course to generate revenues and profits from 2020 onwards. Bełchatów is will be the newest unit in Poland. We got a message from the main contractor Alstom that they faced technical problems with this unit, and from our perspective, 1st of May is not possible to run with this unit, but clear message from our side. We have clear clauses in the contract with penalties, and penalties. That's the hint. Penalties are not less than the potential profit from the energy from this new unit. So no impact on the budgeted EBITDA and net profit. No negative impact. Opole, we believe that the final tender will be finished end of second quarter. That's what I can say just now. Nothing new. Turów clear. We started the whole procedure, and we believe to have this small 460 unit in 2016. We promised to change our fuel mix. Of course, it is clear, renewables and nuclear direction. But anyhow, we want to change few investments from hard coal into gas and biomass, and that's why we decided to invest into 2 gas units in ZEDO and probably 1 or 2 biomass units in ZEDO as well. CHPs, as mentioned, we would like to invest in gas only in CHPs to make them much more efficient and much more profitable than currently are. Gdańsk the greenfield within our portfolio, CHP. We are in a final tender with 3 other competitors, still waiting for the final decision taken by the city. Biomass, as mentioned before, a boiler in Szczecin's CHP commission planned in next year, and few other smaller installations in Bydgoszcz, in Rzeszów, and other small CHPs within the group. Few investments into mining. Of course, we had the right to excavate lignite in Złoczew field, which is close to Bełchatów power plant, and we proved it economically to take into consideration this field to transport lignite to Bełchatów power plant, and it is economically proven for now. But of course, we still haven't decided to invest. It will take in next few months. Gubin field as well. We have the right and license to make final research in this area, in this field, but still not yet decided. Energa acquisition, nothing new. We are waiting for the court decision regarding timetable. No news in this area. We are still pretty sure that the rights on this transaction are on our side. Other acquisitions and disposals, of course, the hot transaction, non-core asset, of course, is Polkomtel. I said today that I'm 100% sure that this transaction will be finalized. That's the clear message from all shareholders. We are determined. The offers were very well perceived by us and are very good. And based on that, all of us are sure that this transaction will be finalized and the SPA will be signed in the second quarter of this year. After that, we will come back to Exatel transaction. We are determined as well. We want to sell 95% stake in Exatel this year as well. Of course, we got a good lesson in the first phase of this transaction, and probably we will change a bit technical procedure to enable us to finalize this transaction this year. Others, Autostrady Wielkopolskie, the third largest non-core asset, is on a table with discussion with current shareholders. They at least they want to discuss our stake to be sold to them. And seems this transaction is possible this year as well. All other small assets like hotels, like healthcare, are in a consolidation phase. We will consolidate them into 3 legal entities, and after restructure we will sell them in next 2 years. So end of 2012, maximum 2013. That's a clear message, and in line with our strategy, we will sell all our non-core assets 100%. Okay. few words regarding renewables, which is important. You know that we beginning of this year we changed the management board because of the pipeline of new projects. Current management board is in a final stage of a new investment strategy. Will present us in next few weeks the investment strategy, and we are of course waiting for the two pipelines. First of all, projects to be developed by PGE Energia Odnawialna, by renewables subsidiary, and secondly, existing wind farms to be bought by PGE Energia Odnawialna. And as said today by Mr. Szostek, who is responsible for this project, end of this year we want to have roughly 100 megawatt installed capacity in renewables, and additional 150 to be started in 2012. And based on these two so-called pipelines, we decided to start IPO process and to finalize it fourth quarter this year. That's it for now. Please ask us, mainly me. I'm for you.
Okay, traditionally first chance to ask a question is for people sitting here, so first there, okay.
Good afternoon, Piotr Dzięciołowski from Credit Suisse. Let me start with two questions. So firstly about Energa, they provided some numbers for 2010, and if you buy it at the price you said you would buy it, that would be probably the most expensive utility in Poland. My rough calculation is that it would be EV/EBITDA above 7 and PE of roughly 13, 14. So what makes you think you can create value for shareholders in this deal, and why you still stick to it at such valuation? That would be the first question. And second, I don't know if you've seen it, but actually within the European utilities there's a move to buy back the renewables part. Why do you want to go against the sector and sell this asset? And how you expect people to value pipelines? Because as I understand, your renewable bit is just a pump storage station.
Okay, first issue. Of course, at least we need to wait until final date of this transaction. It can happen that the final date will be in next 36 months. So after that, we will come back to the final price, because it can happen that the ratios will be 3 or 13 after, let's say, 2012 results. Still, based on 2010 results, it's quite reasonable, I would say, because we have a lot of synergies. What we mentioned, mainly investment synergies. That's clear and simple. We can build new power plants much cheaper than Energa can just now. That's clear. If we decide to invest into 2, 3, 5 CHPs in one tender, that's clear that we could get a so-called synergy effect on the investment side. Cost side are also clear. I think that 2010 results are quite okay. There's additional question mark regarding new renewable law in case of old renewables power plants. I mean water power plants, mainly Włocławek. We need to wait until final law being currently in, as far as I know, still in the Ministerstwo Gospodarki, and it is still under discussion how to treat the old water power plants.
So your price is not final, and you will have a chance to renegotiate the price.
As usual. Of course, if we finalize this transaction quick, I mean next 6 months, that's okay to us. But we can imagine that after final decision in next 24 or 36 hours, 36 months can happen. Such a period can happen, and after that, we need to meet and discuss with the seller, because the price can be completely different. Yes, we can imagine that the ratio are 3 or 13, as mentioned. That's clear. Based on 2010 results, we are fine. That's the message. And the second issue regarding renewables, yes, currently pump and storage power plants and only 30 megawatt capacity in wind and roughly 100 in real renewables water power plants. But based on the pipelines I mentioned, additional 70 this year, clear renewable energy, and additional 150 next year, and other projects, we are pretty sure that this asset will be attractive to the investors. Based to the second part of this question, why we are against the market. You know, the market currently our competitors have a lot of wind farms, and they are looking for changing their position on the environmental market within the EU. We need a lot. We need to invest a lot, and these projects are risky. And we want to split the risk with other investors. We do not want to sell our stake in Energia Odnawialna. We want to increase capital. And for sure, we will keep in the first phase. We will keep the control on this asset. So it won't be a disposal of this asset within the group. It is a kind of increase of potentials in renewables subsidiary.
I still struggle a bit to understand the logic behind the transaction, because you say it's attractive business, so, and you have plenty of cash on the balance sheet. Why don't you take the rewards yourself? Clearly it's a risk reward. And second, how come it's a more risky business than the normal thermal plant that you build in Opole, if half of the revenue stream is regulated? So it's actually, I believe it's a lower risk business, but
from our perspective, it is not. It is the most risky business from our perspective within the group, even much more than the nuclear project.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Paweł Puchalski, WBK. Could you elaborate more, please, on the delay in Bełchatów?
Yes, just a few words, nothing more. The contractor, the main contractor, Alstom, faced problems with pipelines in CO2 installation. CO2 installation in this unit, and we need to replace these pipelines. And we got a final information from Alstom that May is not possible. And we are waiting for final confirmation of the new date. I believe it will be third quarter of this year, not the second one. But what I mentioned before, contractual clauses are clear, and fees are clear for both sides, and these fees are not less, that's our calculation, clear calculation, are not less than than the profits from energy being produced by this new unit.
If we are at CO2 issues, you also mentioned somewhere in your presentation you are about to proceed with your CCS installation, and it's still kick off at 2015. You stick to your plan of switching on this installation?
Still yes, but we have two issues to be finally solved. First of all, investment. The potential cost is much more than 600 million euros, and until today we got only 180 from the EU, and we would like to get much more. I believe we as PGE would like to invest maximum 30, maybe 25% of this investment from our cash. Remaining 75% should be subsidized, both by the EU, by the Polish government, by Norwegian funds. Lot of potential funds being interested in this project. But anyhow, we need guarantees for these subsidies. But that's the first issue, and from our perspective, much smaller issue. The bigger one is operational run of this installation. Based on our calculation, it shows that it will cost us additionally 60 euro, close to 60 euro per megawatt hour. So if we compare it to current price on the CO2 certificate and potential prices delivered by analysts, by everyone, it is not economically reasonable to invest into CCS technology. So my question to the Ministerstwo Gospodarki and Ministerstwo Środowiska is clear. Why can't we get other certificates? We can call them black certificates. If we have green certificates for clean technologies, I mean wind, water, CCS is also clean technology. Why can't we get certificates for that? Just to, we do not want to get so windfall profits from this operation, but to balance the gap between the real CO2 price on the market and the current costs. I mean the 60 euro. If we get it, we will do this installation. If not, probably we do not invest into CCS anymore.
Very last question from my side. You are about to dispose of Polkomtel, Exatel, and potentially Autostrady Wielkopolskie. Does your guidance of 40–50% dividend payout includes gain on disposal?
Yes, our recommendation is clear: 40 to 50 of total consolidated profit, but 40–50, not 100.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have a long set of questions from Fred Barazzi of Goldman Sachs. Starting from the shorter one, will you provide some medium-term financial targets at some point?
At some point, yes. Yeah, I remember that we promised to start guidance being published. We need to discuss internally. We have a new CFO, and we will discuss it internally. And I'm pretty sure that sooner or later we will present guidelines not only for next 12 months, but in a medium term. But not now. Sorry for that.
And can you give some guidance on the long-term contract compensations this year? How large should we expect the increase to be? And what does the level of compensations depend upon? Why the 2010 figure end up lower than guidance earlier in the year?
Let me excuse not to answer now. We discussed internally today morning how to give you a guidance, not to tell the exact figures. Please excuse not to present it directly now. Of course, hint is clear. It will be higher this year and much lower in next years up to 2016, the last year of LTCs. I'm pretty sure that we can present such a guidance regarding LTC for this year and next ones in next few days. So we will send it to all of you. That's my promise regarding LTC.
When will you start incurring cost for nuclear development? How much in the first few years? And could you give an update on your thinking on the project? Has anything changed in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's the most important question, I guess, this time. Of course, current costs or costs up to date are very small, and they have no influence on the results of the total of the whole group. The first year with reasonable and I would say in case of this subsidiary huge cost will be this year, when we decided to start 2 tenders for, first of all, for technology advisors, owners, engineer, and secondly for research of three final sites, and for this year it will be huge amount, but anyhow it will be booked in the balance sheet because it is directly related to the investment, and these costs will be presented in the P&L just after first day of operational run of first unit. So don't worry. The second part of this question, of course, we deeply analyze the current situation in Japan, in Canada as well, but it has no influence on our project because it was clear from the beginning that we decided to invest into 3 or 3+ technology, and the newest technology with passive system, security system. And the technology in Fukushima was the second generation installed in the 60s and 70s. So with the active system of the active safety system, so it is completely different technology and has nothing common to the current technologies being analyzed by us. So that's the first issue, and the second one, seismic and geology structure in Poland is completely different than in Japan and a few other countries. I would say Europe as the continent is rather safe. We analyzed last 500 years regarding earthquakes and tsunami in Europe, of course, 500 years, believe me, and we do not see any potential risks. Of course. During the tender, we will 2 times, maybe 3 or 4 times more deeply analyze the security issue, which seems to be much more important than everyone thought before. But anyhow, we haven't stopped even for a while our project. This year we will start a tender for technology, end of 2013 final site and final technology, 2016 first construction day, and 2020 first unit in the operational run.
So next question comes from Natalie Casali of JP Morgan. There was a 250 million provision reversal in the generation segment, which masked a decrease in the underlying profits. Did you see an increase in costs in generation, and if so, is this sustainable?
Yes, you know, that's the first phase of reorganization or restructuring group is done. We consolidated the business. It was the first legal phase. The second one, operational, starts this year, 2011-2013. And together with our CFO and operational vice president, we just now we set up KPIs for every subsidiary, and we will start a deep restructuring, really deep restructuring process on both on revenue side, in wholesale and retail assets, and on the cost side, mainly in generation, both, and distribution. So I'm pretty sure that the further development of revenues and costs will go in a good way. Of course, we can't forget that we have guarantees contract with our employees until 2014 and 2017, and as everyone knows, that it is one of the third largest cost drivers within the group. First is amortization and depreciation. Second one is fuel, and third one personal costs. But anyhow, we will start a discussion regarding PDOs within the group, and for sure we will find a final solution with the trade unions and the employees.
Then the issue that we are very frequently asked, and also a few questions today. Could you give us the most recent view on discussion between European Commission and Poland on CO2 after 2013, and how this can affect the investment plans in coal and lignite?
Yeah, that's, from my perspective, that's the most difficult question. Last week I was in Brussels, and I would say currently PGE is fighting for coal, lignite, and nuclear. That's really strange. It seems that few other countries want to invest only into, I don't know, wind farms, which is not possible to run and compensate the whole system in the EU. But of course, it's kind of joke. Regarding CO2, we fully support Polish government, because it is the discussion between Polish government and the European Commission. We strongly believe to get real derogation in the years 2013, 2019, up to 20. In our long-term scenario, we have really stepped down 10% per year. I saw a lot of potential curves 80% in the first year, and in the last 6 years by 3 to 5%, 3% in first 6 years, and the huge step down in the last year. So the curve is still not decided, or hasn't been decided by them both sides. And that's the largest question mark. Regarding lignite power plants, it is not a huge issue, because it is twice cheaper fuel than the hard coal. But if in the worst scenario, really worst scenario, we will analyze our hard coal projects, all of them, Opole as well.
Okay, any questions on site?
Erste Group. I have a question concerning your pipeline in gas cogeneration. Do you assume the yellow certificate system to be sustained after 2012 when you prepare these investments, or what's your opinion about this issue?
That's not the easy question. Of course, we have a lot of scenarios regarding cogeneration. Anyhow, cogeneration is much more efficient than typical power plant, because in our CHPs we have two products. But anyhow, any kind of long-term policies really needed, and I believe we will stay in such policy which we currently have, or similar will be for the next years, because that's the easiest way, based on the climate policy, on the global climate European Union policy, is to invest into cogeneration, renewables, and nuclear. That's clear, because in cogeneration as well we decrease CO2 emissions. So we need to have clear strategy regarding such assets like CHPs.
But will you wait with your investment decision until the matter will be clear? Or?
It is under discussion within the group. From one side, we can't wait because every quarter brings us loss or potential loss in revenues and profits. But from the other side, if we do not know the final policy, it is really hard to invest even 1 zloty. Still under discussion, but we strongly believe that CHPs will be fully supported by everyone really, because that's the only solution. I can imagine people being against power plants, hard coal, lignite fired. I can imagine, but CHPs I can't. So I think we will start all of our investments, but it is not decided.
Thank you.
Thank you for one more question from my side. My question is on pricing, because we think the last year was kind of lost, your performance was flat, this year we think the same, but what the market is waiting for is higher wholesale power prices. And I was thinking about the merit order in Poland, and assuming PGE generates 40% of power, why don't you increase power prices to 240, let's say, where all the investments break even, and you set the marginal price? Is this something you consider? The last move that happened in Polish market was PGE moving prices from 120 to 180. That was 2 years ago, and everybody followed. So I think everybody's waiting for you because nobody else has power like this. So what's your strategy for next year pricing?
Of course, the situation is much different than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Currently, we have power exchange. Of course, we would like to have 300 or even more, but that's the real market price. Of course, I agree with your next argument that we still have limited interconnectors on the borders, and the situation is rather clear on the market. But anyhow, it is a market. We decided when we joined the power exchange, we decided not to be a market maker, not to be penalized by everyone as a not market maker, but market faker, I would say. So we are not the market maker on the TG on the power exchange, and we see the volatility of the price, and that's not our strategy to steer the price. Really, from our perspective, that's the market price. It is growing. It is growing. It is much, maybe not much, but it is more than 200 just now, but of course far away from 230 or 240.
But that's the price where the hardcore projects break even. So you need 240.
Yes, but still not 240, 220, 25. That's the break even. But please take into consideration that we still have LTCs. So when the break even, when we take the results with LTCs, it is not 220, 225, but much less than 200 zlotys. So we are fine with Opole and with Zedo now. Of course, LTCs will gone.
Can you give a bit more numbers behind your 220 calculation? What's the cost of capital, capex, and this type of thinking?
Yes, we can deliver such figures to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we can, but to discuss it with the lawyers.
Of course, lawyers are everywhere. From the business point of view, yes, we need to ask our lawyers.
Okay, then the question from Alberto Ponti of Societe Generale. To what extent do you think that the new power stations will be granted free allocations?
That was the famous phase, physically initiated, you remember. And there is a list in the Ministerstwo Środowiska of new power plants being physically initiated, I would say. And looking on our portfolio of new projects, Lublin power plant is on this list. So I think, of course, the final discussion between our government and the EU Commission will be this year, but I believe that the promises given by the European Commission 2 years ago will be fulfilled. So I believe that all power plants or projects being on this list in the Ministerstwo Gospodarki, sorry, not Środowiska, Gospodarki, will get free allocations for in the next period. I mean this derogation period, 2013-2020. But that's my belief only. If not, there will be no investments.
Next question from Alberto. In what areas you think you can reduce costs in generation and in distribution without touching employment levels?
Yeah, fully agree. I mentioned these three main drivers: fuel, is clear. Depreciation clear as well. Personnel, and we will touch personnel as said. And the remaining costs, of course, are really limited, mainly in generation, a bit higher in distribution, and these costs will be touched in the first phase, and in the second phase, personnel costs. That's the only thing we can do.
Piotr again.
You said you will cut employees. Can you give some numbers behind it, and why not? And can you also say we talked about 1 billion efficiency program? Is it forgotten by now?
No, it is not.
You also, I think I was hearing that you were kind of thinking about upgrading this number as well, the efficiency target.
Okay, we will upgrade this 1 billion program. That's for sure what we can send to all of you. Numbers in personnel cuts we can't place just now, but what I'm saying now is that we will start PDO's projects in all subsidiaries, and we will start the real discussion with the trade unions and employees this year. Can't guarantee we will finalize the stocks this year, but anyhow, I strongly believe that we will make savings in the medium term. 3 to 5 years in this area.
I would add that, as said before, currently business lines, companies are working on the cost cuttings, and they are working on KPIs, and when they finish the work, there will be definitely information to disclose.
Puchalski once again. Let's assume you complete Polkomtel deal in second quarter of 2011. Would you consider advanced dividend payment?
I don't think so. You know, for us, we are still waiting, and we believe that the Energa transaction will be finalized this year. That's our belief. That's why we need cash in our hands. If not, we'll come back to this question.
And question from Thomas Stempin of Argus. What's your expectation about the demand for electricity and prices of electricity this and next year?
This and next year are, I would say, much easier to predict than 2013. Consumption will grow smoothly, but will grow. That's our assumption. Prices as well. That's what we see. I see first transactions for 2012 on the power exchange, and the prices are 215 roughly. So it shows small increase in comparison to current prices for 2011. The main question mark relates to 2013 after a new CO2 phase, and if nothing changed, I would say we can face huge increase of prices in 2013 in Europe, not only in Poland.
Then the question from Jan Lepeton, reporter of Deadwire, about Eurobond and syndicated loans issue. Do you know the amount of funds you will need to raise on foreign markets?
Currently, we have Polish bonds in Poland program, bonds program in Poland, and for sure we will go, or we will enter European market, European bonds market, but not now. We need investments to be financed by these programs. Maybe end of this year, if Energa transaction finalized, maybe we will enter European market with, in the first phase, that's typical tranche, 500 million euros. That's typical for our such companies like PGE, but that's too early to discuss now euro bonds, because we do not need any other financing now. We are of course legally we are prepared.
Any more questions on site?
Tomasz Kuchowski, Deutsche. One question about output this year, given the delay in commissioning of Bełchatów, how much of additional output we should expect PGE to produce this year? And also the second question would be about the prices. I mean, because you said earlier that you already forward sold 90% of volumes. I believe everybody saw those transactions and the prices. But how those prices exactly compare with the prices at which you realized effectively a year ago? So what's the change?
Okay, so second question. Prices in 2011 are higher than in 2010. I can't give you the exact prices and exact figures, but they are higher, that's for sure. First question regarding Bełchatów. As mentioned, we still have no final date given by official date given by Alstom, and that's why it is difficult to say the exact output from this unit.
Do you think there's a risk that this problem will be a prolonged one and you will not be able to start producing from a new block in the fourth quarter, actually?
No, I don't think so. That's why I said my personal estimation is third quarter this year. That's my personal estimation based on the current situation, and that's what I described briefly. The pipelines I saw. That's my personal estimation.
We are slowly running out of time, so please, final call for questions. And in the meantime, Teresa Schinwald from Raiffeisen Central Bank asks about potential revitalization of Bełchatów units 1 and 2. When these units can go online again after the revitalization versus the decommissioning date of 2015?
That's the initially discussed project to revitalize first two units in Bełchatów. That's too early question. Of course, when we finally decide, we will come back. Of course, there are two options: first, to shut them down, and secondly, to revitalize, and to prepare to operational run after 2015 and 2016, when the new environmental law, mainly regarding SOx and NOx and dust, are in place. So we will answer when we finally decide.
If there are no more questions, thank you very much. If the question arises or comes to our email box, we'll definitely answer it later. So thank you very much, and I think CEO will be available for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and promise to convince our lawyers to deliver the figures.